Everybody, happy Monday. Hope you're doing great wherever you are, and thank you for being here for Daily Distinction. I really appreciate you jumping on here for a few minutes today to start our week with a little bit of talk about creativity and what we can do to stand out, as I do at the beginning of every show while everybody kind of gets in here, is to remind you to please share. That's how we grow our viewership, is your kindness. And if you could be kind enough just to take a moment and share this, because today we're going to be talking about innovation and creativity to solve some of the problems and challenges that we are all encountering right now. And I'll also remind you as we're getting started that if you haven't signed up, today would be the perfect day to do that. Go to distinctionnation.com. Free resources there, and you can join our nation about standing out and earning more, doing more through creating distinction. It costs you nothing to sign up, and there's free resources for you available there at Distinction Nation. So please go sign up. Also, well, I'll let you know, coming Friday, we've got a guest. It's customer experience expert Dan Gingiss. He's a best-selling author and a consultant in the field of the customer experience. We're going to be talking about how the pandemic and all the things going on are changing the customer experience. So that is coming up a little bit later on in the week. So hope you join us for that. Hey, Scott, happy Monday to you as well. Thanks for joining. I noticed you were with us yesterday on the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. We had a good time yesterday. So thank you for joining that. Brian, I'm glad you're kicking off Monday with me as well. Thank you for taking time to do that in Wisconsin. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. So thanks to everybody joining in, and thank you for sharing and being a part of this. It was really terrific. Thank you for being here. You probably noticed we did a little work on the studio this weekend. We don't have it completely wrapped up, but we're getting there. So trying to make this a great resource. It's moving virtual, right? Everything is moving to virtual, and that's what's happening with all the things that are going on. So trying to be virtual and work on that. We've had some internet problems today earlier. Was knocked out, so don't know if we're coming through all right or not, but hopefully we are. And thank you for watching, and thank you for being here. So today we're going to talk about creativity, because we see all the challenges going on around us here in the United States. We see it throughout the world, wherever you may be watching from, because I know we have folks that watch every day from the United Kingdom and from Australia and from all over the world. So this is not just a problem in the United States as we go through the Black Lives Matter situation that is changing, hopefully, how we are in our culture, but it's happening all over the world. I mean, and it's probably happening in your business. It might be happening in your career, maybe in your family, whatever it might be. We all face challenges. And perhaps the greatest quote about all of this is from Albert Einstein, who said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same level of thinking that created them." If the way that we are doing things and the way that we're going about things creates a certain problem, that level of thinking that created the problem isn't going to be the level of thinking that solves it. So what we want to talk about a little bit today is being a little more creative. Now, creativity sounds, thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. Good to know. And Phil, always great to see you. I really appreciate you being here. What we want to talk about a little bit is creativity. And Phil could go on and on about this. Phil is a master humorist. And humor is being creative, right? It's noticing things in a unique and creative manner. And so what we want to focus on for just a bit today is what are some of the things that we can do to be more creative? And I've got 5 steps. I got 6 steps about what we can do to be more creative, because we've got to be more creative and innovative to move forward from the challenges that are all around us. So if you're ready, here we go. 6 ways you can be more innovative, more creative. And the first one, when I was researching this, was absolutely a surprise to me. You ready? Here you go. Eat differently. Isn't that funny? I would not have thought that eating differently can make you more innovative, but research shows it can. In other words, we get into such patterns of habit, whether it is what time we get up or what we do each day or whatever it might be. We get in such patterns of habit that those patterns not only restrict our activity, but restrict our thinking. And so one of the things that researchers found is that if we change how we eat, not just the time that we eat, but what we eat, maybe going out and experimenting with Thai food or Indian food or some type of cuisine that you typically don't partake of. It's one of the things, believe it or not, research has found can make you more creative. Because when you do things differently, you also start thinking differently. And so eating differently is one of the things that will help make you more creative. That blew me away. I wasn't anticipating that one. I wasn't anticipating that, I am not much, I shouldn't say I'm not much on it. I don't eat a lot of Indian food. I don't know why. I just never really did. And then I had a chance a while back, and those of you that follow me on Facebook saw that I posted a picture from when I was speaking in India last night. And one of the things that I was in India, right? So I go to the restaurant, I'm by myself, and I'm at this hotel, the Taj Palace in New Delhi. And so they got a great Indian restaurant there. I thought, well, and I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved it. And I thought, why in the world am I not eating like this? Why in the world have I waited till now to try this out? Absolutely loved it. And you know what? Then I came back from India, and I think I've eaten Indian food one time since then. Well, why? Right? Because we're creatures of habit. It's so easy to go get the chicken or the burger or the steak, and I don't partake of that, even though there's great Indian food here in Las Vegas. So I'm using that as an example of how we just keep going the same. Tammy and I went to dinner last night, and we went to, it's a place we love, right? And we enjoy, but we went to the same place and ordered kind of the same thing. Second time we've been out since the pandemic started, but it's like, you got to do something different. So eating differently is one that can help us be more creative, believe it or not. Here's another one. Get input outside your comfort zone. Now, you have heard me talk about this before, and Sherry, you got that exactly right. Broaden your horizons, get them, get out of that comfort zone. So get input out of your comfort zone. I know you've heard me say this before if you watch frequently here, but if you are a conservative, spend an hour watching MSNBC. If you are a liberal, spend an hour watching Fox News. Now, in both situations, you may want to take off your shoe and throw it through their television. I get that. But people think differently. And being able to understand and to absorb, I'm not saying you have to agree with it. I'm not trying to change your political philosophy. I'm just saying that if all you listen to are people that agree and think just like you, then somebody is unnecessary. So we need to get these different viewpoints. We need to get these different ideas. We need to get outside our comfort zone and start thinking differently, because that's going to help us come up with innovative solutions that can solve the problems that we have currently. So get input outside your comfort zone. Read something that might be a little bit different from what you normally read. Hey, I'm not saying that, if all you read is nonfiction. I get in the habit of reading too much in terms of reading every business book and personal development book out there. Sometimes sitting down and reading a detective novel stimulates better thinking. It has nothing to do with what I happen to be reading. It just kind of stimulates your brain to get input outside your comfort zone. Here's number 3, walk away. Have you ever been thinking about something or so consumed with a problem, it just overwhelmed you? But we also seem to get on this loop. When Tammy and I go to bed at night and we're just about to turn out the light, we always say ALEXA. I don't want to say it out loud because mine will go off and yours may too, depending on where you're watching. ALEXA, play my playlist, sleep. I set up a playlist on Amazon for music to listen to as you drift off to sleep. Okay, so the playlist starts And then you always say, ALEXA, loop this. And it will loop the playlist so the relaxing music plays softly all night long. What I'm saying is sometimes we get in that same habit pattern in the way that we think. It's almost like we've said, brain, loop this. We get on this endless spiral of thinking about and contemplating, and we just keep going over the same thing over and over and over and over. And it's no wonder that we can't have a creative solution, because we keep playing the same tape over and over. We keep playing the same playlist over and over and over. And so sometimes we need to just shut it down and walk away. And it's amazing to me how sometimes some of your best ideas about the problem come not when you're thinking about the problem, but when you move away from the problem. Just walking away is something that will help you think more creatively in a more innovative fashion. Yeah, you're right, Brian. I mean, it is the fear of the unknown. It's not the fear of change. It's the fear of the unknown that companies change that makes it easier to revert what we think is habitually safe. A buddy of mine, Randy Gage, wrote a book called Safe is the New Risky. And he's right. You know, playing it safe really is one of the most risky things that we can do. And the asking for inputs is a fear, especially from someone who'll know to be honest and authentic instead of stroke your ego or not be of service. Yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's one of the things, you know, we've mentioned here before, Brian, and maybe we need to talk about a little more sometimes, is that I think sometimes people have been, I don't know what the right word is, coached, socialized, expected, that if I ask you for advice, that means I have to take your advice or else I don't respect your advice. And that's not true. I mean, asking for advice is getting input. It doesn't necessarily mean I have to follow what that advice is to the letter, right? But I do have to show you I respect your opinion, and I do have to show you I respect your advice, and that's why I ask for it, is because I respect your opinion, I respect your advice. But it doesn't mean we have to follow it to the T, because we might get conflicting advice. See, there's been a lot of study into presidential leadership, and I don't mean that this is political, but there's a great book by Doris Carnes Goodwin, and it's called A Team of Rivals. And it's really a study of Abraham Lincoln's leadership. And part of what Lincoln would do is he had a team of rivals, of people who vehemently disagreed with each other, regardless of whether it was about the Civil War and how it should be fought, or economic situations in the 1860s, or whatever it might be. These rivals would argue with each other. And through that argument, Lincoln could get to the point that he felt was the best decision. Well, if you look at some of the decisions that he made as president, obviously spectacular. And so one of the things that she's suggesting about leadership in the book is that true leaders help initiate opposing viewpoints, so that they can listen to the opposing viewpoints and find where they believe the right point is. Sometimes it's in the middle between what these two rivals are arguing about. Sometimes one is right and the other is not a direction that you want to go. But you need this input. You need this stimulation, and that's part of it. And then one of the things they do after they get that is to move away from it and contemplate. You know, there's some interesting studies about John Kennedy handled the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s. And one of the things that he did that surprised a lot of people, disappointed some of the people as he was going through this. You know, here's a young president. He's in his early 40s, and he's faced with the potential nuclear war, and he would slip away and take a nap because he felt that he couldn't make good decisions unless he was fresh. But it's also part of this. I needed to walk away. As they would sit in that particular room and argue with each other, again, getting lots of input, then he would walk away, and he'd walk away and take a nap, or he'd walk through the White House, or and it would give him just that walking away from the intensity of the problem often gave him creative ideas about how to solve it. And it kind of goes along with the fourth one: move. If you are sitting in one position, we talked earlier this weekend about the thinker and the position of the statue that we talked about. But moving helps with creativity and innovation. Just getting up and walking around the block, get on a bicycle and ride around the block, move, do something. Are you the kind of person, I've talked with friends about this. Why is it our best ideas come in the shower? Why is it our best ideas, you wake up at 4 in the morning and you're going to the bath, get out of bed and go to the bathroom, and this great idea hits you and you think, man, I got to remember that when I wake up, and then you wake up and it's gone. Why does that happen? Well, part of it's the walking away that we talked about. Part of it is the moving, getting up, moving, walk around the block, ride a bike around the block, do 10 push-ups, and then see if you aren't more creative, because the brain and the body, the chemistry works so closely together that it stimulates more creative thought. So if you're not being creative enough, maybe you're not moving enough either. Here's number 5. Innovation is about connection. It's taking, in many cases, a previously considered idea and connecting it with your particular circumstance. Here's what I mean by that. And it's a story I've told here before, but it ties specifically into this. And that is, when the Taylor family started their rental car business, they were trying to think of how they could compete with Hertz and Avis and the big players. And they decided, rather than make you come get the car from us, we'll take the car to you. That simple creative idea, just taking one aspect. They didn't reinvent the rental car business. The Chevy that you get from them is the same as the Chevy that you would get from Hertz. What they did was just change one particular point of innovation. And that rental car company they founded, of course, was Enterprise Rental Car. But then Jeff Bezos is thinking about, okay, so if they can bring the rental car to you rather than making you go get the car, why couldn't I get the book to you rather than making you go get the book from the bookstore? And if it would work with a book, why wouldn't it also work with and add all the items on Amazon? And I should have had a picture of it. I didn't even think of it until this moment. So Tammy and I got a couple new bicycles, and we're biking. And we bought used bikes off of online. And so we wanted to get them, tuned up and a couple little repairs to make and that kind of thing. So we're looking for bike repair on Yelp. And there was this bike repair person who had a phenomenal, set of reviews. But he comes to your house rather than you taking the bike to the shop. He has a mobile bike shop. So he pulls up in front of our driveway and opens up the back. And I mean, it is like one of the most well-equipped bike shops you can imagine, in the back of this panel truck. And he takes the bike on the truck, and he's got a bracket there that your bike fits on, and he does all the work on your bike. And when he's done, you put your bike helmet on and ride away on your tuned up bike. They bring it to your house. And so what happens is, we're going to get our bikes worked on more than we would, because there's no hassle in terms of loading your bike up and taking it to the shop and doing all those kinds of things. So that's the same kind of thing. What if we brought the bike shop to your house rather than making you go to the bike shop? How could that work for your business? How could it work for what you do? How could you take an existing idea and think, how would that make me a better salesperson, better parent, better professional, better whatever? It's about the connection, taking an existing idea and connecting it with something. My great friend, Mark Mayfield, we've been friends forever. And Mark is one of the most brilliant comedy writers you can ever imagine. Matter of fact, if go on Twitter and look for Mark Mayfield, and I'll give you some more info on how you can subscribe free. He has every day, they have free, funny one-liners. And Mark will take a sheet of paper and divide it in half, and he'll just make a list of things that are going on and other ideas. And then he just starts connecting those ideas to create comedy, to create fun. And he said, it's less about, the wisdom striking you. It's more about making the connection. Chris Rock did that in the comments that he made here a few days ago. It's one thing, Chris Rock was talking about the police And he was admitting that, 99% plus of police officers are quality human beings and dedicated professionals. And it's the 1% that's causing the problem. Okay. We've heard that before. We likely agree with that. But then he said, but being a police officer, that's a business where you cannot have problem people. Okay, that's an interesting statement. But when he made this connection, it's like being a pilot. If American Airlines said 99% of our pilots are great, but we got 1% of our pilots that just love to fly in the mountains, we hope you understand. Well, no, you wouldn't understand. If 1% of your pilots, what American employs, I don't know, 20,000 pilots. That means 200 pilots. 200 pilots like to fly in the mountains. That's unacceptable. Notice when he made the connection, you wouldn't accept an airline that 1% of their pilots like to fly in the mountains. You wouldn't, accept a hospital where 1% of doctors really like seeing you get sicker. We wouldn't accept that. So when he makes that connection, that's when it illuminates us. It's creative, and we really, really like that. Yeah, Brian, there's another place I use in the shower. You're not stressing your brain, and because your brain has relaxed, you got an idea that comes to you in simplicity. Look for what's missing and how do you fill the void? Excellent, absolutely, making that connection. And here's the sixth and final one: you got to keep an open mind. There are creativity exercises where the name of the exercise is no bad ideas. And you go around, you get everybody to throw in something. It's a brainstorming activity, but one of the rules is there's no bad idea. No bad idea. When teachers teach improvisational comedy, they say you can never say but. It's always yes and. You don't shut anybody else's concept down. You keep an open mind and build a concept of your own. So by keeping that open mind, it generates more innovation, more improvisation, more creativity. So the challenge is to keep an open mind. Phil Jones has been a guest here before on Daily Distinction, has this great line in terms of selling, in terms of sales. And he says to a prospect, would you be open-minded about, and then he talks about what he wants them to consider. Rather than just saying, here's an idea I'd like you to consider, blah, blah, blah. No, he said, would you be open-minded about? And the reason is because most people want to believe that they're open-minded. When you say, would you be open-minded about, most people don't go, no, I wouldn't be open-minded. I'm a closed-minded person. I wouldn't be. Well, naturally, they say, of course, I'll be open-minded about that. We have to challenge ourselves to do that. We have to challenge ourselves to keep that open mind. So the 6 things we talked about today in terms of creativity, one is a crazy one. Eat differently. Get out of your, it's another way of saying get out of your old tired habits. Eat differently, because what we eat generates different chemicals and generates a different physical response. Second, get input outside your comfort zone. Don't be trapped in the echo chamber. Get input outside your comfort zone. Be willing to walk away from the immediacy of the problem. Focus on something else. You'll be surprised how when you leave the problem that you're working on and focus on something completely different than that, it generates the thoughts about the problem that you walked away from. Physically move. Walk around the block. Take a bike ride. Do something physical, because that generates greater creativity. Innovation is about connection. You don't have to be chaotic and wild in your thinking. Just connect the dots of something else. And by the way, if Enterprise can bring the car to you, and Amazon can bring the book and other products to you, and this bicycle repair person can bring the bike shop to you, see, there's a connection. What could you bring? What could you bring to your customer? Might be a solution you're looking for in your business. And finally, keep an open mind. It's all critically important in terms of how we innovate, how we solve problems, how we get better. There's my pal Jeffrey Gitomer's quote. You bet, Brian. Open mind equals open wallet, closed mind, closed wallet. Absolutely. So keep that open mind. So those are the 6 things to generate more creativity, and it's absolutely needed. We got to be creative. We got to find some innovative solutions to move forward from the challenges that we currently face. All of those absolutely critical in today's world. Hey, that does it for today for our program. I'll remind you again, go sign up at distinctionnation.com. And if you haven't yet, please share this, because that's how we grow, is that you are kind enough to share it. So please be kind enough to share this episode. That really, really helps generate more viewers and more followers. So thank you in advance for doing that. I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow on the next edition of Daily Distinction.